Hey everyone, welcome back to CryptoCache. Thank you so much again for joining me here. Hope you're having a fantastic day. Boy, what a fun situation we have here. There's no other way to describe it. It is a complete mess, and yeah, Bitcoin really pulled a fast one. Anyways, this is actually good news in a lot of ways, and I'll explain why what I mean by that here in a moment. Also good news too, recently partnered with BTC. These folks are awesome. Just a nice healthy alternative to no KYC or VPN requirements. So if you're in the US or Canada, check them out. They got some nice deposit bonus rewards there. I just wanted to kind of throw that out there because I'm always trying to get as much opportunities to my members as possible, and I think that's a good fit. They also have demo trading, which is nice. Sometimes you just kind of got to learn with paper money. It's just the way around, no other way around it. Okay, so let's take a look at the backend data here first with Bitcoin, kind of see what's going on. Oh, and while we're letting this load here, just ask you to go ahead and hit the like button on the video. Absolutely appreciate it. If you got a comment, feel free to do so as well. So when we talked about liquidation levels before, again, this is like 7-day look back on the left, basically 4-week look back on the right, but 1 month. And when we talked previously, there's obviously a lot of liquidation at 60,000. We can kind of forget about that for the moment. I don't think that's a very likely area. Same thing here as well with 58.5. Just kind of zooming in though, kind of looking out here. We see a lot of longs, okay? Those are late longs entering the market with high and low leverage. That's why it's kind of spread out here. And we can see there's a decent chunk here between now and 52,000. But for the most part, from a macro perspective, just know that we have less propensity for the price to go much lower right now, based on the way things have worked out. In other words, I think we're finding our tentative bottom. We're seeing a lot more volume flowing into Bitcoin at the $53,000 mark. And it makes sense because if you zoom out and you kind of look here, there was each one of these bars is like 6 to 7 billion. Like that, it was a ton of money just got flushed today. So you know that sound that the toilet makes when you flush it? That's what happened to Bitcoin today. Okay, and the whole market too, really. That's just the bottom line. The last thing I want to kind of highlight to you as well, because I mentioned this to our community, in the last 3 months here, we want to kind of recognize this. There is a lot of liquidation. So if we kind of look here, we kind of zoom in a little bit. Each one of these bars is close to about 20 billion. So 20 billion at 49.3, 20 billion at 49.1, 20 billion at 48.8. No, that's 30 billion. There's a lot of liquidation potential there. So just know, I think that there's a possibility we could see a revisit of the low 50s, possibly upper 40s. Okay, there's a lot of liquidation. So just kind of throwing it out there. That's not a guarantee, that never is, but just like fair value gaps or more important CME gaps, they have a tendency of getting filled eventually. Okay, so while that's a possibility, it's becoming more of a probability now, right? So just kind of understand that. Having said that, what needs to happen for Bitcoin to stop continuing to run down? Easy way to understand it is that we got to break this descending trend. This is a very strong trend, and it hasn't shown any signs of slowing down yet. Every time we see a retest, which has happened twice, almost 3 times, the price continues lower. The 20-day SMA, I would say, is something we really want to pay attention to. Not necessarily on the daily, because that's, that is important, but more so in the 4-hour. I'll explain that here in a minute. Looking at the daily, we do want to be above the 20-day SMA, there's no doubt, but that's a long ways away. It's upwards closer to 60K, so it's almost a joke now to think about 60,000 being a possibility. Having said that, though, that is somewhat of a point of control, that 59K range we talked about previously. If somehow we recover instantly and come back quickly, just know 59K, 60,000, that's going to be a resistance range for us. When we look at the liquidation range here to the downside, there is, again, still some liquidation, so you can kind of see that liquidity there. We zoom out, we can kind of also see here money flow index is getting closer to 20, and RSI closer to 30. Usually that's a pivot point or a bouncing point where we see the price action recover. Okay? So keep that in mind, that's a possibility. Way too early to tell. Everything's pretty much bottomed out. TSI's hitting its lowest point. We've got MACD massively overextended. There's really no reason to consider a long unless you like losing money. Again, long in different scenarios, right? We have a long with SUI right now that's technically break even because we had an average entry there, which I don't recommend longs at this point, but there's a reason for that. If you saw my video from earlier today, you'll recognize that that coin is primed and still looking good. Having said that, though, the 4-hour time frame, let's go ahead and recognize the fact that there's tons of volume here, but it's starting to increase. We're starting to see like a hammer doji candle here forming, and that's a good sign. That very much could imply that we could be back on track. Okay, again, and I say that very loosely, back on track for a very short amount of time. That's all there is to it. There's no way that we are bullish on Bitcoin. Get that out of your head. That's not going to happen for a while. At this point, we still got to get back up over 30 on the RSI in order for us to have any legs to stand on. This basically just implies if you have a short position open, you should keep it open. Really, that's what it boils down to. There's a lot of other signs here with the volume increasing with the price potentially bottoming out here, it's a good sign. I mean, the bulls were nowhere to be found today. Really, anytime there was a dip, there was barely any buying pressure, all low volume bounces. At this point, we're starting to see more volume. That's why this is a good sign in a sense. Stochastic still pulling back, money flow index super low, under 20. Again, no man's land. You don't want to buy into this. I recognize if you do buy and you want to watch it closely, that's a different story, but this isn't really like a swing trader's dream, okay? We do have a bullish engulfing candle here so far on the hourly, slight consolation. Ichimoku Cloud is going to confirm that we are absolutely far away from any potential recovery. We can recognize there's a fair value gap here between 55 and 56K. There's a slim possibility we see that retested. I don't think we're going to see that today. We zoom out, we see our 0.618 fib level here at about 55,000. So it would seem sensible that this 55K range is going to be the new resistance. Okay, again, just kind of based on some of those factors there. I can draw out some better charts here, update our levels, and just make sure we have a good perspective on this. I'm going to post this on our playout chart, or post a playout chart on our Twitter, Telegram, and Discord. That's all available here. If you're not familiar, I have a lot of good features and functions there. So check that out. Like the videos, like the comments, whatever the case. I deeply appreciate that. But the general consensus here, the easiest way to understand Bitcoin right now is that it's terrible. There's no other way around it. It's gonna have a slight relief rally, but I would expect resistance in the 55K range. So between now and then, we're probably going to be range bound between 52.5 and 55K. That's the very tentative analysis. We won't know more until we get there. Between now and then, we got to recognize we got a weekend coming up, folks. So weekends are notoriously pretty terrible trading conditions. So I would recommend limiting your amount of trades this weekend. If you insist on trading, make sure you watch it close. The other thing I forgot to mention is that Bitcoin dominance is very, very janky. Like, in other words, it was pulling way back. Altcoins were sustaining for a while, and then Bitcoin's bottom dropped out, alts dumped. Now it's right back on its way up. So basically what this implies here is that there is money flowing away from altcoins and going into Bitcoin. That's the general idea. And with Bitcoin price, while it's increasing, it's not like a massive recovery. I think we are still, we're as a better case, I think we're going to be range bound. And that's how you change the trend, though. You got to recognize that. This descending trend, the only way to break it is to establish range bound activity and then establish higher highs and higher lows. So we would actually be in good shape if we did start to see a range form here soon. That's what we're looking for. All right, folks. Anyways, that's where we're at here. I know it's not great, but I appreciate you nonetheless. Appreciate you watching. Again, don't forget to like the video. Be sure to check out BTC if you haven't already. They're a good newer exchange we're partnered with. Just providing, again, more no KYC or VPN required options for you. I hope you all have a good rest of your day. Thanks again. We'll see you soon. Take care. Bye-bye.